of the Soccer Podcast Show. I'm your host, Paul, and I'm joined by my co-host, Noel, today. So, Noel, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
How are you doing, Paul?
Okay, Noel, we're now looking forward this coming weekend. We have the next two games in this Women's Nation League. It's actually a double header. The Republic of Ireland versus Albania. As you can see in the graphic, they're at home in the Tallaght Stadium this Friday, October 27th. And then the following Tuesday, today week, they're away in Albania. So, just a quick word, Noel, I suppose, a quick recap. Ireland have played two matches in this Nations League. They have beaten both Hungary and Northern Ireland. Albania drew with Hungary and they lost to Northern Ireland. So I suppose the old saying Ireland will be definitely favourites to win both these games, but you actually have to go out and do it to know what we're talking about. So just a quick word on that before we look at the squad.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Paul. I think, as you said, Ireland have won their first two games in the Nations League. 3-0 win at home to Northern Ireland, and I think it was a 4-0 win away to Hungary. They were by far the best team in the group. Of course, if they win the group, they get promoted to League A as Nations Leagues works, and it's good prospects for the Euro 2025 qualifiers. So it's very important that Ireland keep on track now with the performance they put in. I'm sure they will. It's been a good start for the interim manager for the Republic of Ireland, Eileen Gleeson.
Eileen Gleeson, yeah.
That's right, yeah. And I think this with two good results and good performances against Albania probably should get us to guaranteed top spot. Obviously, we won't count on chickens just yet. But yeah, you'd be surprised now if Ireland don't put in two good performances against Albania. They have done it against Northern Ireland and Hungary. We're moving on a little bit nicely now in this group. And of course, on Friday night, being back in Tallaght, because the last home game was in the Leinster Road, the Aviva Stadium. So I think it's a sold out as well. So it's good progression for the team. Obviously, the World Cup and the whole thing with Vera Pauw, that they're trying to move on from that there now. We haven't fully moved on because we need a full-time manager. Obviously,
yeah. No, just a question there before we move on to the squad there. Is that a concern because the manager, or this a temporary manager, Eileen Gleeson, and I don't know, maybe she might get the job full-time. I have no idea. There's complete silence on it. But if we had a full-time manager, not alone would they be doing well in this tournament, but they'll be looking forward to the Euro qualifiers next year, and maybe they'll be bringing in young players and flooding them and giving them experience. So that with a temporary manager, there is my concern is there might be no long-term planning. But it's only an opinion, would say. So is that kind of a drawback, would say, that maybe they might be just going short-term? Or what are your thoughts before we move on to the squad?
Yeah, I get your point there, Paul. Because ideally, you would like to have the full-time manager in by now. And they announced just before the squad that Eileen Gleeson was going to take these two games and possibly take all the Nations League games. So we could be up till I can't remember exactly the dates for the next round of the Nations League games, but I presume they're going to be before Christmas. So we're going to have this could be dragged into next year. Hopefully, it won't be. But there's going to be There's a list of candidates, I believe, from the FAI. They whittled it down now to a couple. I think what they're going to do, and then they're going to pick their new manager. But it's probably going to be a manager that's out of work. I don't see maybe the FAI going for a manager that's in work at the moment, like in the WSL in England or something like that. I think they'd be happy performing in the English league over there. It's a good high profile job. I don't see Ireland getting someone out of a job and into the Republic of Ireland job. No, maybe they can, but I think obviously the appeal is there for a manager because if the Irish team, say for example, top this group, that means they've won their National League group. They'll be into League A the next time the National League next comes around. And also, I think, I'm up to correction this, Paul, but I think they'll be probably first seeds or definitely second seeds for their Euro 2025 group draw. So I think actually the new manager would have benefited from the work that Eileen Gleeson would have done because, being League B, obviously you might be seeing the second or third seeds in the group, and then not like first seed like England or Holland or Australia or England or Holland or something like that in the first seeds in the group.
Don't forget Spain, the World Cup champions.
The World Cup champions, Spain. Yeah, that's right. So I think it's all on the up ball at the moment for the women's team. They're playing well. They're scoring a lot of goals. Now, obviously, we have to take into consideration the group. They are by far the best team in the group. I mean, I would be expecting Ireland to at least win 3 or 4-0 now on the showing so far, and the results that Albania have done and the Republic of Ireland have done so far in the first two games. You would be expecting a good result. No, can't be too complacent. I think that's what Eileen Gleeson has said. we're going to have to be complacency is going to have to be put out for these two games because we're expected to win. We're expected to win well, so we're going to have to go over the field now and do it. So I think all complacency and maybe a bit of cockiness can disrupt our rhythm at the moment. And I think that has to be nipped in the bud. And I don't think it would happen, but any sign of that will have to be stopped. I think they're on a good form. Kenny McCabe is coming into the game on really good form. She scored 3 goals in the last 2 games for Arsenal, her club. She's playing very well. There's other players are back.
No, sorry, just when you mentioned Kenny McCabe there, in my opinion, I love your thoughts on this. Is it important to bring in younger players and blood? Because we all know when they come to the Euro qualifiers, will be probably on sometime next year, whenever to be on.
Yeah.
Your top players could get injured. A player can get injured at any time of training. You would lose 1 or 2 of your top players. So, in my opinion, is it important that they develop this strength and depth, not alone in quality, which you want, but also in quantity? If you have plenty of players and with the experience of playing away from home and playing games at home under a bit of pressure, that maybe we shouldn't be relying too much on these top players because you have to have a backup. Because as you said, a player can get injured at any time.
Well, that's just it, Paul. Katie McCabe is so important to this team. If she was injured or if she wasn't in form, it does show on the pitch, Paul. But there's no doubt about it. In the past, when Katie McCabe was injured or which was now to be fair, she's never been in much bad form for Ireland over the last couple of years. But if she was, and she wasn't as effective, it did show on the pitch. We were so reliant on her, and I suppose that's where we need when a new manager does come in. We need other players to step up. We need more younger players to come into the squad as well. Now I think that would only happen really with a full-time coach because I think Gleeson has her own job after this. I think she's made it clear she's not interested in the job full-time. So when a new manager does come in, that's something that they will have to prioritise as well. New players with quality. So I think that's something that will be looked at over the next couple of years. You have in the graphic there. I think Caitlin Hayes. She's a good player, but she's 28. Obviously, she's her citizenship came through just before the Northern Ireland game, so she's definitely an addition to the squad. So it's all about getting in new players and maybe at a younger age as well, so allow you to develop and improve the squad and improve the team. So I think we're in a good place at the moment with the women's team. I think, as you said, we could do maybe blood in a few more players. Obviously, players playing all for their clubs as well. There's 1 or 2 players that have missed out in this squad because I think Maria Shiva, I think her name is, she unfortunately was the one that gave her the penalty against Australia. I think the reason why she isn't in the squad because she's not getting time with her clubs. So that's something that will have to be looked at as well. In the past, maybe players might have been playing for their clubs or in good form. They were picked because the backup wasn't as good. Now, sadly, for a few players, that's not going to be the case anymore because there's going to be players playing at a higher level. The higher level with the World Cup qualifying for that has risen the profile. So that means more players want to play for us and more players with quality are coming through. So that's something that's going to have to be looked at in the future as well. So look, they're in a good place. There's a few players coming back from injury. There's obviously the defenders. There's a few players. Megan Campbell, she was I think she was doing analysis at RT. She was injured for the World Cup. She's back in the squad. Chloe Mustaki is back. Well, no, she wasn't injured, but she's been a player on the fringes, but she's still in the squad. She's an experienced player for us as well. So look, there's going to be a change after this next campaign, Euro 2025. A few players that veterans will stay for the World Cup. A few of them players will leave after 2025. So we need a conveyor belt coming through now, particularly in defenders and maybe in midfield. I think we're very good at the forwards, but I think maybe midfield, more creative players in midfield is what we needed. So I think that's something that's going to have to be a priority over the next 2 years, particularly for the Euros.
Yeah, I suppose I don't like looking back to the World Cup, but even before that, I know there's a different manager. We won't go back there. We've already done podcasts and that, but there was a thing that Ireland could only score maybe from set pieces, free kicks or corners, or maybe that we couldn't really dominate a game. That you mentioned there, with maybe players getting on the ball and controlling the game. But so is it? Like I suppose we're relying so much, like the men's team, we're relying on the players coming through the clubs and developing as the clubs, and the clubs have been successful for them, we'll say. But what role do you think the FBI in general, and maybe getting the players first into the League of Ireland women's teams, and then maybe getting them across the water mainly to England, but obviously you have other places as well. But to try and develop that and get that system going, because there is a League of Ireland women's team, but it's not professional. Let's not be clear about it. Said, and you need players playing in professional clubs if we're going to step up into international level.
Well, yeah, that's it. A few players have come through the League of Ireland clubs. I think Gary Larkin has been seen to be one of the bright spots about it. I think she was playing for Sherborne, and she might have been playing for Shamrock Rovers, but she's playing in Glasgow now for in Scotland. Saoirse Noonan was, of course, a player that came through the League of Ireland as well. I think last time I saw her, she was playing League of Ireland, but she's playing for a club in England now. So there is that progression, and players. It's just affected life with Irish football, Paul, but we can't keep our best players here because it's always semi-professional at best in the men's and not professional at all in the women's. So they have to, that's something that has to continue sadly for the Republic of Ireland in both teams, men's and women's, where you develop the players at home, you send them on to English clubs because that every player wants to play for the best club they can and progress and do well in football and particularly in their career. So they either have to go to Scotland or England because the facilities is just a fact of life with our probably lack of investment over decades, Paul, and the FAI in the League of Ireland and particularly with the women's team. I mean, if you think the lack of investment in the men's, it's definitely lack of investment in women's as well. So I think that's something that sadly has to continue, particularly if they want to play for Republic of Ireland and play at a higher squad and play at the international level. So I think that's something that develop players here, because obviously with the WSLs like the Premier League, there's a lot of players coming in, and foreign players coming into England and Scotland and stuff like that. So we have to develop our players and develop them at maybe a younger age at a lower level. And then when they reach 18, 19, then go over to England then, because I think obviously that the days of them going over 15, 16 for trials maybe. But all the players want to play in England, particularly because the English league is probably one of the best leagues in the world again, men's and women's. So that's something that has to be looked at.
Just about the English league, no, and maybe you don't know this. You have the women's Premier League with the professional league. I presume there's leagues underneath that. Maybe would be semi-professional in England or that.
Yeah. There's a league underneath the WSL where Birmingham. A lot of our players are actually playing would be the equivalent of the championship in women's football. Yeah. A lot of them are playing in Birmingham City and Blackburn Rovers. A few players we have down there, all right, in that league. In fact, a lot of the squad, Birmingham City, like Louise Quinn, Lucy Quinn. There's a few others there now on top of my head. They're playing for Birmingham City as well. Tyler Toland, I think they came back into the squad. She plays for Blackburn Rovers. And then there's a few others there that are playing in the WSL at Bristol City, for example. Megan Campbell's playing there. Billy Mistake playing there. And a few others. So they are playing at the top level in England or just a level below. And a few are playing in Scotland as well. So we have a good mix, I think, Paul. And obviously, the more and more players we want in the WSL because that's the top level in England. But we have a good mix at the moment. And the squad is healthy and and strong. So that's right for the future.
Just come back to the game. No, it's quite unique that you're playing the same team twice in the space of 4 days. Will that one at home and one away? So will the away leg next Tuesday today week? Will that be kind of interesting? Depending on hope you might have a good result at home, but you're playing the same team again. Will that make it kind of interesting because we're playing the same team twice in 4 days? It maybe normally you wouldn't be doing that with it,
Yeah, I get your point, yeah, but I think this team is good enough to handle that, Paul. I think Albania, they haven't pulled up many trees, as you said, in the first 2 games. I think, was it the drew with Northern Ireland, lost to Hungary?
The drew with Hungary and lost to Northern Ireland.
Lost to Northern Ireland, yeah, and we dealt with both of them quite comfortably, to be fair. So I think, yeah, we'd be expecting at least a 3 or 4-0 at home, Paul, to be honest with you. That's not being cocky, that's just based on form, that's based on the rankings, I suppose, and that's based on our performance of the last 2 or 3 years. And we should be beating teams like this 3 or 4-0 at home with confidence. And I'd say maybe away from home is obviously more difficult. Be quieter crowd. It'll be maybe the pitch might be.
Of actually traveling and getting, you might go into a hotel for a while.
That's right. That's right. Away from home in international football is always harder. It's always a bit more sticky. So I think I'd be expecting maybe a 2-0 win away from home in that one, and that'll set us up nicely in for the next 2 games away to Northern Ireland and home to Hungary. So I think based on our performances, based on our rankings, based on the quality of players we have, I think we should be going out there and winning all, basically all 6 games, Paul, to be
Yeah.
quite honest with you.
Yeah, and that's with the final coming up.